Hi there, welcome back to Mastering the Young Band. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about beginner technique as it pertains to the first 5 notes. Technique, obviously with beginners, you don't always think about too often just because you're happy to get them to get great embouchures, great hand position, great sense of pulse, rhythm, etc. But once your students are pretty well set on their embouchure, once your brass players can really differentiate between the middle and low partial, once your flutes have a solid understanding of their first 5 notes, fingerings, airflow, and they're able to keep their aperture and get the first 5 notes strong. And once your clarinets are articulating, and everybody articulating, but especially clarinet, getting the tip of the tongue on their tip of the reed like that, it's time to really start having them work on their technique. The first technique exercises in my Essential Foundations book are in the first 5 notes. The first 5 notes, the first set 1, the first 5 lines are just simple whole notes that are designed for the band director to go, I play, you play. And you can use that using instruments, sometimes use the harmony director. In my trumpet and horn class, I like to use the harmony director to play the fourths that the trumpets and horns are apart. But then the first 5 notes set 2, what you'll notice is there's a lot more articulation and finger patterns that go back and forth. So for instance, on my first 5 notes set 2, number 6, the students go back and forth between concert F and concert E flat, brass players first to third position. How I like to teach this with my kids is we'll go, okay, number 6, everybody. First, let's say our note names. So the kids go F, E flat, touch. E flat, D, E flat, D, touch. So we say the note names. I do that in all the classes. Then with brass, I don't do this with woodwinds, but with brass, then we say the positions. If you're not sure what brass positions are, that's in one of my videos to look up the brass positions. But the brass, here's an advantage. Again, they all say the same numbers. So they'll go first, third, touch. Rather than your trumpets trying to go open, first valve, open, they can just say the position. Now again, be careful. Horns have different positions than the trumpets, so just be aware of that. Then we go I play, you play. So what I usually do with this, I do I play, you play with this. Tempo 72. They play back. And again, I'm always doing I play, you play, demonstrating great tone quality, great sound for the kids. I do, again, use my harmony director to play sometimes, like especially my low brass class, I have my tubas. I want to be able to play the octaves so the tubas hear that. They're not always hearing it up the octave. I usually play through that first 5 notes set 2 for at least 3 or 4 weeks. And I just get the kids really good at playing those transitions between notes smoothly. What you'll hear with beginners, especially flutes and trumpets, a little bit of trombone, they want to do this on their technique. We call that a choppy sound. Brass players, we talk about, we're stopping our vibration. We don't want that. We want to make it smooth. We don't want. So sometimes we'll even play it wrong. I'll say, let's purposely play that choppy. Here we go. I play, you play. And we'll purposely do it wrong. They'll go, okay, now let's do it right. Let's smooth our sound. You heard me say earlier in the video the word touch when we get to the rests. I do have a video on why I do touching the rest, but just the short version of it is this. Getting your students to say touch at the end of a longer note teaches them to what we call touch the rest. So what we talk about with this, with smoothing out our sound, is make sure the last note of every measure touches the rest of the next measure. That's why we go F, E flat, touch. It gets them used to carrying their sound to that rest. So then we practice it going back and forth that way. Once my kids have spent several weeks, many weeks on that first 5 notes set 2, then we move on to the concert B flat major exercises pages. Now for the clarinets, I do have them go to the concert F major exercises so that they can work on getting their right hand fingerings, especially their low B, A, and G, comfortable. I'll come back to that in a moment. But the concert B flat exercises now goes back and forth, works on their technique between notes, but it starts building it up into the full octave. So instead of the first 5 notes, we start expanding to our concert A, our concert B, and concert C for all instruments except for clarinets. That's how I like to sequence my beginners, is I start them going from concert F to concert F, or concert B flat to concert F. And once that is really, really solid, then I start expanding my flutes and every instrument except clarinets up. We just start moving up. I use the first warm-up set 2 to help them reach those upper partials in the brass and the flutes to get up into their B flat. I also do head joint work with the flutes to get it there. But the concert B flat major exercises gives them technique on their full concert B flat major scale, if you will. Clarinets, as I mentioned, we go to the F. And by the way, I have my flutes and clarinets in the same class. Flutes turn to concert B flat major, clarinets turn to concert F. So we have 2 different keys going on. They are off in different keys, but it's really important for your clarinets to start building that right hand as their next step. Reasons for that are, it helps develop their embouchure, because as they start playing their clarinet and adding in that lower joint, there's more back pressure, so it strengthens their embouchure. The second reason to have them start working on their right hand fairly quickly is it also makes sure that their hand position is correct. A lot of clarinets, when they're playing their clarinet, they don't have a good thumb position because there's no incentive to. When they're just playing all left hand fingering, C, D, E, F, and G, they don't really care what this hand is doing. Once you get that right hand moving, you can really start reinforcing with them why it's important that their thumbnail touches the thumb rest. That's how I say it. I say, okay, fingernail touching your thumb rest, just to make sure that their thumb is turning up a little bit. What you don't want is your clarinets doing this when they play, or even yet, some of your kids will push their thumb out from their thumb rest. So we go right to the concert F major, and that starts teaching their low A or low B, A, and G, and it gives them a reason to have really good right hand technique. Those concert B flat major exercises and F major exercises are the next step from that first 5-note set 2. It really builds your beginner's technique going between notes. It's just in quarter notes, but getting a smooth sound and very fluent on their first scale. If you haven't used those pages yet, I highly recommend you do. But again, make sure your kids have their first 5 notes down really, really well and have characteristic embouchures, sounds, and that they can articulate really well before you move on to those major exercises pages. I hope you found that helpful. Take care.